What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of the Beginner Bike Giveaway series. Today we're going to be looking over the SV650 versus the CB650R, both in that 650cc class of beginner bike type of thing. And because we're doing two bikes, I have enlisted Lord Spite to help us out today.
What's up, guys? Back
at it once again, helping me out. It's going to be a lot of fun. But remember, before we begin, we are actually giving away this CB650R along with a Suzuki DRZ 400 and a Ninja 400. We got three bikes to give away. Hit the links below to learn more about how you can enter completely for free or support the series to earn additional chances to win. So without further ado, let's get into it. So in starting off today's episode, I think the most important thing to cover, the biggest differences between these two bikes, is the number of cylinders. So the Suzuki has 2 cylinders in a V configuration, and the Honda has 4 cylinders in an inline 4 configuration. And since Spite has actually owned both of these configurations, I thought it'd be helpful if he talked us through what the differences are.
Right, so like you said, I did have a V-twin and an inline 4. I actually had a 919, which is the big brother to this guy, up until a couple of months ago. And the biggest thing that you're going to notice between these two different engine types is where the torque comes on. The V-twin will snap torque on right away. It's right there for you from go. Here on an inline 4, you have to wind it out just a little bit more. I believe on this bike, having put about 12 miles into it, it comes on about 5,000-ish RPM, which means you can't really just jump on the throttle and expect it to go. You kind of have to do that where you're holding it in gear a little bit longer than you would a bike like this, which it really does kind of change the character and how you ride the bike.
Yeah, and I think that really plays into the fact of, this bike, because it doesn't snap that power like this one does, actually makes it a little more beginner friendly in our opinion. Depending on the type of rider you're going to be, if maybe you're a little bit older, that 25, 26-year-old type of guy, maybe wants a bit nicer of a motorcycle, can handle that extra top end, this bike makes a lot of sense.
So I think it's also important to note that even though that we're saying this is potentially for a more mature rider, somebody who maybe wants to spend that extra bit of coin but doesn't have the wherewithal, isn't going to get into too much trouble on a bike like this.
No, yeah,
because they can that untrained throttle hand isn't really going to have nearly as much of an impact as that guy does. I would actually say that bike there demands a little bit more respect just on the day-to-day than something like this. Not to say that this isn't a real deal. I mean, it's making 80 horsepower, but a responsible rider could ride this without having any other experience.
Totally agree. And another thing that we would like to mention as well here is, this bike MSRP is about $7,000. This bike is around that $8,899 mark, so it is more expensive. This is close to a 5-figure motorcycle out the door, and at that price point, you're going to want something that feels a little bit more buttoned up, a little bit nicer, and the Honda does deliver. It's a much nicer motorcycle than the SV650. We're going to cover that in our vlog later down. We're going to take them down the road and kind of talk about them in depth, but the CB does feel much more buttoned down, much more polished, much more refined than something like the SV. So if you're a newer rider concerned about dropping it, maybe something like that, you wouldn't feel as bad dropping the SV650 as you would the CB650R.
I feel like binning a brand new Beamer right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So you can, because it's the descendant of the 919, you can feel 12 years of refinement in it. Which is really what Honda does and why it demands that extra price point.
Yeah, and to Suzuki's credit, they've been making the SV650 since like 1999. They kind of bungled it up a little bit with the Gladius in the 2009 to 2014 era-ish. But they've made a lot of improvements to this bike, but at the end of the day, the Honda is more expensive and just feels a little bit more premium. But with that out of the way, let's get these bikes out on the road and let's do a deep dive on how they feel to ride. All right, guys, we're out here on the road taking these two bikes out. Spike is all loaded up. I called you Spike. Spite is all loaded up here. SV650 and CB650R. We're going to go down here on City Park Road here in beautiful Austin, Texas, in the hills. I think I say that every single time that I'm here on this road. But it is a great road. And let's get these two bikes out and have some fun. So we just came in and I was riding the CB and you were riding the SV, so I think now it's my turn. I'll jump on the SV and you can jump on the Honda.
All right, fair.
As the Honda boy that you are, you know.
Lest somebody calls me biased.
Yeah. Well, first I want to do something really quick first, though. I'm going to turn them both on and just want to get a look of the two of them. There's just no denying it that bike looks about 2 times, maybe 3 times as good as this one over here. Man, that's a great looking motorcycle.
I mean, that headlight looks like an aftermarket piece, but it comes from the factory floor with that nice halo and the 2 levels. It looks very good.
You don't see that kind of stuff at that price point, honestly. Yeah, I haven't seen much of them. But I'm sure now that I said that, some of the comments will be like, actually the KTM, whatever the hell, has that factory.
I think the Vitpillen. That's probably what they're going to go for.
Yeah, I think that costs, what, like 11 or 12, right? Something like that. I think so. It's pretty expensive. Alrighty.
Oh, yeah.
I got you beat in the exhaust category a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Just wait till we get a pipe on this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Just saying.
All right, let's get going.
After you.
Yeah, way more torque on this bike.
But man, does this click up through the gears so quick and easy.
I think that's the thing we were mentioning as we were coming out here, is just the Honda just feels every bit of a 5-figure motorcycle. It's just so nice.
Absolutely. It's crazy what they can cram into it and still keep it under 5G's MSRP, or 5 figures MSRP.
Dude, if that bike was 5Gs, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, no, buy it every day. While we're sitting here, it's a good time to talk about that this dash is not great in the sun. We've got the sun at our back, and it's a little hard to read.
Yeah. You know, it's super funny you said that in that exact way, because he almost sounded like Zach Quartz from On Two Wheels. So while we're sitting here, he always does that on the MC commutes.
Let's take a look at this little Dash-a-Mahoozit.
Yeah. Except, as we mentioned, we're like a bootleg version of that, because Zach Quartz and Air Henning are about 1 billion times the riders and video creators that we are. So
we're the HEB brand.
Yeah, we're the great value version, you know? we're the of the people, you know?
Man, do I love the sound of this as it's going through the gears.
It's just smooth as butter, isn't it? The Honda flicks over way kind of simpler and easier than the SV, doesn't it?
I think that comes from the handlebars, actually.
Yeah.
As much as it comes from the suspension, I think the handlebar setup on this is just a little bit nicer than the SV. We said last time we were out here that the SV's handlebars are just a wee bit narrow.
Yeah.
And I still maintain that. These are nice and wide. I like, because my shoulders are so wide, I'm tall, and I have a really wide stance. Like, I grab the weights on the end of the handlebars.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have a lot of control here. And I can really, swing this through a turn. I'm not gonna go crazy on it because it's not my bike, but it's, it feels so good coming in. It's so nice and balanced.
Yeah.
Whereas that SV, it kind of feels like it's almost ready for you to stand up on the pegs, The handlebars feel very tall for what they are.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, they just feel a little cramped. I think the biggest mod you could do to the SV after owning it for a little while would be some wider handlebars for sure. Some flatter and wider handlebars, I think, would do this bike a huge amount of favors.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why don't you pass by me here so I get a little view of that CB? Oh, that bike looks good going down the road, doesn't it?
It feels good going down the road.
Yeah.
Although oh, go ahead.
I was gonna get up right next to you so we could get a view of it.
To your point, though, we were talking a little bit before we were rolling. I did just now feel that there's a little bit of a flat spot between 4,000 and 6,000 RPM.
Right. We definitely should talk about that because I think that's a huge thing on that bike. So yeah, we were talking about it, and the CB, although it is that classic inline 4, it really revs out, super fun. We don't know if it's like the fueling or the ECU programming or just like Honda kind of down-tuned a little bit from factory, but there's a very noticeable dip between 4,000 and 6,000 RPMs when you're wide open and trying to pull through the gears. You noticed it as well, right?
Absolutely. When I was actually coming up to get up next to you, I felt it. Let me let these guys get ahead just a little bit, and I want to see if maybe we can, catch my head jerking a little bit. We're getting into, I think, a nice little flat spot.
Because it almost feels like you're rolling off the throttle, but you're not,
Yeah, right there. I just felt it, and it feels like it's about to give up, and then it reminds me of the VTEC on my motorcycle, which is really weird because this is just an inline 4. Yeah. Like
maybe
right
Honda
there.
built it and they forgot to put the VTEC in. They're like, ah, shit, we did it again, guys. Forgot to put the VTEC on the bike. Have you revved it out?
Yeah, well, I haven't taken it to I haven't given it the beans. Let me.
Yeah, give us some beans. Give us some beans there. What gear are you in? Okay, bye. It pulls nice, huh?
Oh, it feels great. It's that inline 4. Once it wakes up, it's just all there. It's just ready to party.
Yeah.
Going back to what we mentioned in the garage, the differences between the inline 4 and the V-twin. It doesn't have that kind of like meaty, brawly vibration as you hop on the throttle.
Yeah.
That bike, it'll shudder and shake a little bit as you jump on.
Yeah.
And then as you wind it out, it'll settle a little bit once it gets kind of into the groove. Mm-hmm. This, it's buttery smooth all the way through the power band. It gets a little bit more buzzy as you get higher up, but it's really not so bad, you notice, the other side.
Wow, these brakes are trash on the SV. I'm not gonna lie, man. Oh, we're doing some scrambling today, huh?
Oh, these are not the tires for this.
Remember, any bike is an off-road bike if you try hard enough.
Yeah, so you're talking to the guy who's getting ready to turn a Harley into one.
Alright, let's jump off. Oh, I thought it was on and I saw the check engine light. I'm like, dude, already? What happened? Why? Oh, yeah, coming back on the CB, like, it just feels nicer. There's no two ways about it, man. This bike's great.
One thing I think worth mentioning is that seat is actually 2 pieces.
Yeah, that's true.
This is just one big plank, and that has the removable passenger seat, which I think, since it's not one big pan, they can put a little bit more attention to detail in your seat.
Yeah. I also noticed it's got some really nice stitching on it too. I was looking at that earlier, and I took it off the other day to get the manual and all that from underneath, and it's really sturdily built. The seat's really plush and nice. Yeah. Well, let's get going, man. Let's fucking ride this thing.
Oh, this sounds so nice, though. With that pipe, it sounds so good.
Like, you really notice when you're on the SV, even though it is like, it's certainly not as nice as this motorcycle, but it offers a lot. It's so much bang for buck, dude.
You really do get everything you'd ever want when you get this. I think, anyway. You don't really have adjustable front, but you don't need it. You don't. You got preload in the back. You don't really need much more than that. You could take it off the showroom floor and go do whatever you want. Whereas I think that guy, the CB, it's a little bit more at home, kind of just either on the highway or down the city street or on a track. This thing, you could literally put it in the dirt if you wanted.
You could put on like trail-ish tires on the SV and kind of green lane it or something like that if you wanted to. dirt bike bros all over the world have just crucified me for saying that, but I really think you could. Like, there was that review that Chris did over at Bike World where he took a Hypermotard 950 SP out on, like, you know, a dirt road. Like, you could have fun with bikes, you know, like, they're not these little precious, like, if street only or dirt only. Like, just go and chuck them down whatever you want, you know. All right, we got this straightaway here. I think it'd be really fun. I'm gonna click it up into fourth, and I'm gonna roll about 35 miles per hour. And then you can click it into fourth as well. And let's just roll on and see what happens. You ready?
All right, ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, okay.
It can hang.
You were right there.
It can hang.
I really thought you were going to get the jump on me because all that torque at the twin cylinder, but it was right there.
I think we hit, because we were cruising a little bit, I think we hit your power band just a little bit sooner.
Yeah, that's true.
This thing loves to just pick up and go. When we did it from a stop earlier, the front wheel actually started to come up on me.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
This, the CB, you're not going to find that front wheel rising really all that much.
No, you'd have to really work for it to just do it on power alone. I mean, you could clutch up and wheelie this thing, but on power alone, you'd have to really work for it on the CB.
Yep.
Just because it hits in a different way. I'm actually really surprised by that roll on. I thought you were going to get the jump on me, and then I was going to try to catch up with you the whole time. And I was also surprised by the SV's top end. Like, it really, I mean, they're only 5 horsepower apart, and they're really, really close, honestly.
I guess that comes down to, you know, what do you really want?
Yeah.
Because at the difference in price point not being that significant, I could see somebody going into a dealership and saying, you know what, I just want something that you know, I could show up to a nice dinner on and get that, or I want something that's just a little bit more relaxed and grab this guy.
Yeah, and I think, you know, since they are weirdly similar in terms of power output in that way, you just kind of have to ask yourself, like, do I have the extra cash for something like this? Which I'll tell you right now, like, you're going to have a tough time talking a dealer down from the MSRP for these bikes because they're very, very desirable. That SV650 we got because it was like a model year holdover. It's a 2018. But these bikes, they're selling really well because they look so good and they ride so well. So you're not going to get a super good deal on this. So you have to ask yourself if you want to pay the extra cash for this motorcycle and if it's worth it to you. And, you know, if you prefer the inline 4-cylinder sound and vibe, this to me is probably the only 4-cylinder bike that's new, that is appropriate for beginners. Like, it's about as much as I'd ever recommend to a beginner, but if you are a beginner, you could still have this, have your 4-cylinder, and have fun with it without getting into too much trouble. Basically, every other 4-cylinder bike on the market right now is not appropriate for beginner riders.
Yeah, I struggle to think of one. I mean...
Yeah, I was trying to think of that. I couldn't think of any that I would be like, oh, that's acceptable for a beginner.
You know what would be cool is if we got the Super 4 in the States.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Awesome. Again, it's another Honda.
Having some fun with the CB here. Oh my God, we didn't talk about that, but man, the brakes on the Honda versus the SV, night and day, night and day.
This feels very squishy by comparison, and you know, you can see those big, nice Nissan calipers down there.
Yeah, those are the same Tokikos they've been putting on since 1999. Seriously.
Yeah, it feels like a very old brake. So to the winner of this guy, I might recommend a steel braided line, or you know, maybe some new calipers if you're feeling bougie. But you know, it's
not very good.
That comes down to that price point, is you have to make some sort of sacrifice.
Yeah,
it just sucks that they chose to do it with the brakes.
Yeah, but that's an easy spot to cut costs, though, you know. Like, these Nissans are like proper super sport brakes, which, you know, now that I think about it, might be a point against it as a great beginner bike, because I think bikes with, you know, huge dual disc brake systems like this, you know, if you're not super comfortable modulating brake pressure and, you know, really kind of not stabbing the brakes, this could get you in trouble, honestly.
It can surprise you.
Not from power, but from, you know, brakes.
Yeah, they're very toothy, and maybe it's just because it's so brand new. But even then, that's when they slip more. Yeah, no, they bite hard. This bike brakes really, really quickly, honestly. Well, guys, that's been a lot of fun. That's kind of our little comparison about these two motorcycles. I thought it would be fun to kind of do it in this way that's a little more, you know, laid back. We're not going to throw spec sheets at you, that kind of stuff. If you want, I think it's more fun to give you kind of real world impressions and seeing how it feels rather than, you know, spitting a bunch of numbers at you. So if you want, go ahead and research a little bit more about them. Check out the torque figures and the wheel sizes and all that stuff, and the tires and all that. But that's kind of our opinion on it, right? Any closing thoughts, Spite? I mean, me being the Honda guy, I have to take the Honda, but the Suzuki, you could do a whole lot worse. So it really, we're not going to say one is the winner, but they both have a place. For sure. Because, I mean, again, you know, 650cc, standard kind of naked bike. It's easy to cross shop these two, but they're built for two very different people, I think, because they are differently priced. If it were me, I mean, yeah, I'd take the CB as well. Like, it's just a nicer bike. It's more fun to ride. But that doesn't mean the Suzuki's a bad bike. I think that the Suzuki is a great motorcycle and offers a ton to people who are looking for something that is great on a budget. You can do anything you want with it. You can turn it into anything, and you can keep the bike after you move on to your next bike and make it into whatever you want. Agreed.
Yeah. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. Remember, we are giving away this CB650R. The SV650 is actually on its way out. We've actually contacted the winner, and we're going to be shipping it out. But if you're interested in winning this motorcycle completely for free, along with our Suzuki DRZ 400 and our Kawasaki Ninja 400, hit the links below, learn more about that. We got a whole bunch of cool stuff going on. And yeah, that's it. I'll catch you guys next time. See you later.